This video is about scatter plots. So a scatter plot is a graph with multiple points that shows the relationship between two sets of data. So a scatter plot is a graph with multiple points that shows the relationship between two sets of data. There's what we call a trend line. The trend line is a line that follows the direction the data is trending. So in this case, this right here is our trend line. When you draw a trend line, you want to make sure the line is in the middle of the data and has about the same number of data points above and below the line. So when they drew this line, there's about the same number on top as there is on the bottom of this line. This line is also known as the line of best fit. And if you notice, most of the data points are really close to this line, but there are these two up here that aren't close to the line. Those are considered outliers. And you can have two types of correlation. You can either have a positive or a negative correlation. So in this case, the data points are trending downward, making the correlation negative. And if I look at the line I had to draw, or they drew for you, it has a negative slope. It's going down. Remember, you know that because if you draw your little person, he'd be going downhill, not uphill. If the data points were trending upward, then the correlation would be positive. And there's a couple different types. So you can have three types of correlation. This first one is downward, so it's going to be negative. This second one, if I were to draw a line, it's going up, so it's positive. And lastly, if you can't draw a line, if they're just kind of scattered all over the place, then you have a zero correlation. For zero correlations, you can't really make a trend line. Okay, so let's go to the back. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plot, let me scoot over for you guys. We're going to plot the data points, and then we're going to draw a trend line. When you draw a trend line, please use a ruler. Okay, so let's go ahead and plot these data points. So 0 hours studied goes with 90. So 0 hours studied is up at 90. So I did that one. 0 is 55 as well. 0 is 55. 1 is 60. Go over to 1 and go up to 60. 1 is 65. So go ahead and pause this video and finish plotting your points. So I do want to point out when you're plotting your points, so hopefully yours looks like mine. It might look a little different. It's hard to tell. Right here, this one is a 2, but the ones below it, these two right here, are actually 3s. So you should have had 370 and 385. If you didn't have that, go ahead and fix that. And I'm going to go ahead and check box plot that we did the plot the data points. So the next thing we need to do is connect our dots and make sure that our line kind of goes through on both sides. So let's see, if I were to draw this line, I'd have 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I'm going to draw it right about here. And when you draw your line of best fit, you can always redraw it if you need to. So there is my line of best fit. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 above, 1, 2, 3, 4 below about. So we drew the trend line. Now it says use the trend line to answer the following questions. If you studied 3.5 hours, what grade would you expect to make? So 3.5 hours is right here. So if I studied 3.5 hours, it would be 80. Approximately 80. If your trend line was a little bit less, you could say like 78. I'm going to say approximately 80. If you want to make an 88, approximately how many hours should you expect to study? So I want to approximately make an 88. I want to make an 88. Let's see, that's about right there. So it connects right here. So I would need to study a little bit more than 4.5 hours. So let's say you need to study about 4 hours and 45 minutes, approximately. So it was up here, I went across, and I went down. And it meets right here. Okay, next we have some practice. It says the graph above shows positive, negative, or no correlation, and draw your trend line. Okay, so I want you guys to go ahead and pause this video and go ahead and try these 3 problems. Okay, by now you should have tried these problems on your own. So this right here, all the points are going up. So it should have been a positive correlation. If I draw my trend line, let's see, how would I go right about like that? It's going to go approximately like that. So I have 4 above and about 3.5, 3 below. On the second one, it says draw a trend line for the graph above. Okay, so let's draw our trend line. Let's see. One, two, three, four, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm gonna draw it right about here. That was really bad. Right about there. My ruler slipped. Okay, it says if it rained 13 inches, approximately how many ears of corn would the farmer expect to yield? So if it rained, we need 13 inches. So that's approximately 14,000. And it really depends on where you drew your trend line. So if yours was up a little bit, you would have thought it was maybe 15,000. So 14, 15,000, both of those work. Okay, next it says draw the trend line for the above graph. Let's see. Draw it right. Try right about there. How many kids could be expected to walk 0.75 miles to school? Okay, 0.75 is right here. So it crosses your trend line right there. So that's not quite 10 and it's not 5. So we're going to say about, we'll call that 8 kids. If you think it looks more like 9 or you think it looks more like 7, that's fine as well.